Okay, I know you can't really see me. Here, I'll come as close to the light as I can. But I am in New Orleans right now, and I am on a rooftop, and I'm at a conference with 10,000 women who I feel like are very different than myself. And, you know, there's a part of me that even struggles with saying that. Like, because I feel very disconnected from them. I'm here because on the side I do a direct sales company, and I believe in the mission, and I believe in many of our products. But I find myself not really connecting with the people that I surround myself with. And not even that I surround myself with, I think even just that I am surrounded with naturally based on who is drawn to this type of work. Or at least this specific business. And I'm finding it interesting to watch myself. I was actually talking with a friend of mine earlier today, and I told her about how I have been really just keeping to myself and doing my own thing, and that I've been, but I told her, I laughed, I said, but like normal, because her and I have been to a couple of these together, or at least we've only been to one together, but she's been a friend of mine for a number of years, and she knows me pretty well, and she also knows that I'm pretty independent, and when I come to conferences I tend to kind of just, in general, I've always sort of tried to do my own thing versus following a pack of people. I try to really just look at sessions that I want to attend and learn how I want to learn, and go to networking that I want to network without always being attached to somebody or a group. I just feel like I get more out of it versus like following a crowd or waiting for a crowd or trying to make group plans. And even though I'm an event planner, making group plans is still, I tend to fall into the role of being the organizer, and I kind of hate it. Because it's just, I just want to go. I'm a doer. And so I tend to be just more independent in these types of things. And here I am at this event where there's 10,000, pretty much all women, like 99.999% women. I think there might be one or two men here out of that 10,000. You do the math, I don't know. And again, I apologize for you not being able to see me, but there's no lighting up here, and it was either this or a very echoey hallway, so I chose the rooftop. Anyway, I was just analyzing my behavior, and when I told her that I was doing, I was like, oh, me, I'm just doing my own thing and walking my own path and leaving when I want to leave, and not really conferring with many people, and not really trying to find people that are in my team or around. A couple of people I've tried to connect with, that's about it. And she laughed, and she's like, it's so weird because you're such an extrovert, you're such a people person. And I am a people person, and I do thrive I do gain energy from other people. I think that has started to shift in the last 5 to 10 years as I've gotten older, but I still generally do like to be social, and I am that social person. I fall into that role very naturally. And at the same time, I find myself, and maybe this is kind of also directive into like the next stage of my life, role in my life, like my new business of holding space for other people, is that I find I just want to be silent. And this wasn't like I had some big revelation and then I just decided that I was gonna be silent or quiet or not talkative. I just find myself, more and more falling into that role. So tonight was Kelly Clarkson. We had a pretty awesome show tonight, and I met up with a girl on the walk to the show, and a fellow East Coaster, and we started chatting, and we had a drink together, and then we went in, and right away I think we both kind of had this understanding that we were independents, because we both were walking solo, whereas most of the women here are walking in groups. And so we just did our own thing, and I saw her a few times throughout the show. That was it. There's a lot of people to try to, we weren't trying to keep tabs on each other, and it was nice. But my point being is that, like, I was watching the show, and I feel like the old me, like 10 years ago me, or probably less too, who knows, maybe even yesterday me, just would have been more like, dancing and singing at the top of my lungs as like a expression of not just a connection to the music or love for the song or whatever, but also for the external, I don't know what the word is, but like the external connection, like being, when you're dancing with a group of people and you're all sort of dancing together and you're looking at each other, glancing at each other, singing with each other, there's a connectedness that happens. And more and more I found myself doing that internally, connecting with me internally, and not connecting with the outside world, which I think that'll shift for me, and I think I'll find a balance, but right now that's kind of where it's been, and I'm okay with it. But it's just interesting to watch, because that's not my normal standard way of being, and I watch myself playing that role, or not playing, but just being that person, and like I notice it after the fact, and then I think about that, and I think about, well, maybe I'm, maybe I don't, I question so many things. So I think about, oh, well, am I just being antisocial? Maybe I'm turning into an introvert. Maybe I just hate all these people. Like, I've had all these thoughts, and it's just really interesting to watch. It's for knowing how I've been for the last 30 plus years. It's interesting to now see this side of me that is kind of pulling away and almost finding more satisfaction from it. And it kind of tied me back into tonight. I was thinking about the start of my new business, and how that probably is pretty correlated. I feel like I learn so much more when I'm quiet, and I don't want to participate in idle conversation. And so there's a part of me that this whole weekend is filled with so much idle conversation to me, and so much just banter and like superficial chit chat. And I don't love that. I start resenting it after a while. I want to push myself away. And I realize that that's not the way to go either, because then I'm just pushing myself away from all communication. And, sometimes that idle chit-chat can lead to really nice conversation. Like a couple nights ago, I was in Colorado, and I was at an open mic night, and, this really good-looking gentleman next to me started, he made a comment. He made a funny comment, actually. And, at first I just sort of answered him and laughed, and then I went back to doing my thing. And then I realized, I need to, whereas in the past I never used to have to push myself to interact or push myself to be social, I'm finding more and more that I need to be proactive about it, because I've been hermiting almost a little bit more lately. And I think that's okay too, but I also realize it cuts me off sometimes from really great experiences. And a couple nights ago was a great example, because I decided to look up and pay attention and, engage back in witty banter. And we ended up having a really great conversation, and have hung out since. And so it's sort of like, how much do we as a society and as humans decide to put ourselves out there, and how much do we pull back? I think that it's a huge gray area. I think there are people that are, anxious and depressed and who have anxiety, who have depression, who struggle with social norms, who find themselves to be more introverted, who, and at the same time, I feel like there's this balance. If there are those times where once in a while they can choose to let themselves be pushed into a maybe uncomfortable position because it will have a positive outcome, but they don't see that yet, then it's good. I mean, same with me, right? But I'm going the opposite direction. I'm extroverted, well, I guess it's not the opposite position, but it's like I'm typically extroverted. And so because I've been finding myself kind of crawling into this sort of quiet hole, it's been helping me to, when I feel challenged, to embrace that and walk towards it. And I know it's a terrible metaphor because it's not at all the same as what I was talking about with, introverts kind of pushing themselves. But my point is just that, like, feeling that uncomfortableness and finding that balance between what is comfortable for you and also, maintaining a social connectedness, because community and is what literally saves people's lives. I believe that. Community, having community. I mean, there's so many ways you can define that. It's so funny because that was my second grade art contest that I won. What does family mean to you? And I said, family means community. And I drew this crazy crayon picture, and I won like $20 in a savings account or something for it. But anyway, it's so funny it's coming up for me now. But it's just like, yeah, community saves our lives. It saves people's lives, literally. I mean, there's research now that shows that. And so it's just kind of fun to watch myself be this sort of, some people might call it like, I'm sure if people met me, they'd be like, oh, she's just, she's introverted, or she's antisocial. That's probably what the name people would call me if they just met me at this convention. They said, she's antisocial, because I'm not engaging. I have no interest. And if someone piques my interest, then I engage. And I'm just trying to, recognize when that's also a privilege, and when that's a privilege, and when that's stubbornness, and when that's, me just being like grouchy versus finding that I'm getting more from being quiet. Watching a concert has always been a very social thing for me. But when I find that I'm quiet and I can just enjoy the music, and I think about my dreams when I watch, these live musicians. I think about when I was a little kid and I always wanted to be a singer-songwriter. It was like the big dream. What do you want to be when you grow up? And that was mine. And, I think 4 people in the world know that about me. But it's something that then when I'm watching this really famous singer, on stage like I was tonight, it's like, I think about, could I be her? I can be her. And I start dreaming. I start getting into dream state, which I don't get when I'm socializing and being extroverted, because then I'm putting on the show. Then I'm being that influencer, like I mentioned in prior videos. Then I'm being that person that wants to be liked, and my ego gets in the way, and I'm not as authentic with myself. And there are certainly people that I can be that way around, but when you're at a conference with 10,000 strangers, it's a little harder to do that right off the bat. So anyway, this video's gone on too long, and it's dark, and I apologize for that. But thanks for watching, and I'll post another one soon.